Right. A warm good evening to Fambulem. Warm greetings, I should say. Um, um, it's just general greeting for everybody, depending on wherever in the world you live. This na the TNN TV media empire, and me where they talk to, and I'm in Prince Emil Chroma. And we've not been airing many programs them kind of lately because we get time constraint. And that's the only reason why. But we get Boku Boku program then where they come up. We get Dr. Richard Conte, they come up. We get Mr. Abdul Fatoma, they come up. Many programs. I can't name them all. A very important program from people and from all background and walks of life, including organizations and institutions and agencies and hopefully ministries and departments. But for tonight, it's another repeat program with an interview which we hold with Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma about 1 year ago. That was back in May, 1 year ago. So another critical interview. So it's like people that really talk way ahead of their time, and I'm very happy, and the management of TNN very happy for repeat this interview. So lest we forget, today, Monday, the 6th of June. So the year don't split. We're right now in the middle of the year, and these are testing times and trying times. There are many things. We get big one where they come on Mayor Akisoya and Francis Ben Kaifala and the First Lady, and including the President, His Excellency Julius Malabio. But like I say, for today, it's a repeat program with Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma. Let's hear that interview.
All over social media, they chat the Sierra Leonean anthem. When I say the Sierra Leonean anthem, I mean everything Sierra Leonean in a positive way, because I myself now one of the few people that were the fella. So this guest is none other but Mr. Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma. Jesmed, welcome to the program. You look very well, my brother. It's good to see you again. You mute, Jesmed.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
You're welcome.
Greetings to everybody.
Let me get down straight to business. You see, some of us, and I believe the vast majority of us, there's something they where they hamburg we, where they shake we on the inside, where they make we they talk over and over and over. Because why? I believe, say, just like many of us, we want the greatest good of we country. You remember once upon a time, not very long ago, because after all, we country, although it's 60 years and 60 years is a kind of big age, but not for our country, we were known as the anthems of West Africa. The anthems of West Africa, simply put, now been placed beside other brilliant minds them from across the continent, being come out and come to your own country when have been the Athens, where the bastion of civilization, I want call it West Africa, because by virtue of the educational system, most people in the Kande, now we college, we then call it University of Sierra Leone, or better known as Furabe College, for can hone their skills, for can share their own things with we, because remember, say, this was the period of liberation, independence, where we the chat new causes, the way our self-aspiration, self-domination, Salona, the people in the camp, especially within the West African region. But what's the status? This is just the truth. This status has been lost quite a while ago. First thing first, Mr. Jesmed, we get many serious things there for talk. But away from the politics, the economics, or the science of things, let we flow a little bit, let we get a little bit emotional, if you will, like, about our country. What do you think, Jesmed, in terms of what I just say? Are you of any optimism at all, say we're able to restore that anthems day? Because I know you come off that age day, I would say you're an academician and you go up the hill day. So these are things that are emotionally attached to you. You think, say, we go ever turn the tide around and become the Athens once again? Not in the same way. What's your thoughts, Jesmed?
Well, realistically, we still get a small window of opportunity for how we transform and change the trajectory of the country in future. But that window of opportunity is narrowing down by the fact that, say, the rest of the other West African countries are moving fast ahead of us. Now, the challenge we get, as I can say in most interviews, is leadership. If we get the right leadership, we get the right structures in place for our go leapfrog with development approach. And when I say leapfrog, it may not mean say we'll get for start again for draw telephone line, then at the gone. We'll go to the, the existing technologies and existing advancements the way they are around the world. But again, it all starts with leadership. The leadership will go get for able to know how to allocate the resources of the nation, for tap into the areas them, especially the creative areas them of we nation, we'll be able to build from and able to shoot over so many other countries and begin to work towards that particular trajectory. But as it is now, we are over 20, 30 years behind.
Right. Thank you for the expression of such a good sentiment, because there is a reason for hope despite all the difficulties. And I really do like that. But I like the ending part where you put, because it just connects me directly to Usai. I want actually begin the program, because if we should do that, we talk about the benefits of economic growth. And economic growth means a country where they prosper and a healthy people, and a country which is renowned or will be put on the map. So I want to talk about the economy a little bit, but I'll ask you, what's your perspective of the situation regarding the current economic situation in the country?
The economic situation in the country is difficult, challenging. And when it comes to the bread and butter issues, with people in the suffer. When it comes to the issue about the business environment, business climate, in terms of the enabling environment where government supposed to create, it's very challenging because of the, I will consider it a myopic leadership style way with the experience right now. I can share a few examples of personal experiences the way me don't go through the business environment. We will give you an example of why it is so challenging. One, if you look at the banking sector, most people go find it hard for belief, say, if you give somebody 100 million leones check right now, that person they're not going to be able for deposit and in bank, because the banking regulations not allow banks then for accept 100 million leones check from anybody. So the question is, so the question now is, which other way you were able to give money to somebody of 100 million and above? The obvious way, one of the obvious way is for let the person go cash the check. And we cash the check, which in that means they take cash out of the, then will get less cash available for them for grant loans to individuals and businesses that want to get access to liquidity. The second option, you get for do wire transfer. Unfortunately, no local bank na salon not going able to do wire transfer to another local bank na salon, and that transaction they take place within Sierra Leone. That is how terrible our banking, rudimentary and backward our banking sector is. What happens? You have to do that wire transfer and they send them outside Sierra Leone, go process it and come. By the time the thing will hit back the next person in your account, it don't cost you over $100 for that transaction.
Why is it Jesmed? Sorry again for budging, because it bothered me as well and I fail to understand the logic. Why is it happening this way?
Honestly, I have no clue. That's something I'm trying to figure out, why our central bank has not been able to put up the mechanism wherein banks can communicate and be able to transfer money in between themselves. But one of the challenges where I know say we face as a country internationally is the accreditation and the fear of using Sierra Leone as a conduit for not only the financing of terrorism, but also the money laundering channels. Now make you will find out, say, it go difficult for let somebody there salon, you open, say, a PayPal account or any financial transaction internationally recognized financial transaction platform because of the stigma then the way we governments then still need for work on and able for elevate the perception about our nation to the international community when it comes to the financial aspect. Now, with respect to other areas in business, the current government, their own policy, they hinder progress of business. I can give you an example. Now, the port sectors, when you go find out, say, when somebody import goods into Sierra Leone, or you ship something from here, say for go Sierra Leone, it will take over 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 7 weeks before you get to Sierra Leone. Why? Because there are very few ships. They agree for go na Salone because of the landing fees we get for pay. So the very few ships the way they agree for go Salone, then go on for make sure say they get enough containers. We go make it worth for let them go na Salone. Because the landing fees then don't increase, then the people a fee of where they import things into Salone now. When you reach there, you get other unrelated fees the way you get for pay. So they go tell like I say, oh, now 1 million leones no more. But around 1 million leones in multiple times in different areas, it adds up to your cost of the goods the way you get for go sell. So you find out, say, it frustrates the growth of business within the country because of the too much taxes and levies then with government the levy, where they milk everything out of the business community. It overburden the very few businesses the way they exist, as opposed to broadening the tax base, creating enable environment for get more businesses the way they pay small tax, then they instead levy so much tax on the very few businesses where they exist. And what thing they fail for realize, which I know they do know, is that whatever custom duties businesses pay, that duty there, it will be reflected back on the price at which goods then they sell them to consumers. I can give you one typical example. 3 weeks ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago, let's say 3 weeks ago, a ton of half-inch iron rod was $770 a ton. Today, yesterday, or day before yesterday, is $820 a ton. So part of then the talk said and don't reduce the inflation. Theoretically, yes, the inflation rate don't reduce. And I can tell you what in the mechanism we then use for reduce the inflation. But
Jesmed, you did way ahead of me, and these are things that way I want for let we really touch on, but I would like for let we connect the dots, so that we were able to bring this thing really Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma, a man will understand what he talk about. And the good thing about this brother is it broken down to that minute level, that macro level, if you like, where they make even the power within Asanda, they understand. And when I say that, I mean them. You can see the man already there ahead of me, and these are things that I really want to talk about. But when you come back again, we still get to the same economy. But all of what we say, if quickly, there are also issues of insurance. The high insurance and the charge, there's no credibility, and then the situation in terms of the climate is difficult for them. So the insurance that they charge heavy money, and I guess that's what you were saying. All of that end up with the consumer when are we and we poor people then. But Jesmed, governments could say, yeah, you want to say something? Go on, please.
Now, part of in terms of the insurance, where the ship then they pay also. That's another point where for them mentioned. What thing that happen is that the time we been get rebel war.
Yeah.
The insurance premium was obvious for like go high.
Yeah.
Because of the risk elements will be not increased. Now, the insurance company then, if you not get a government will understand how then process here they affect the economy of a country and able for take up issues with the insurance company then, they will continue for levy all that high insurance day, unbeknown to the nation, where probably, even if they reduce themselves, they reduce them back to that level they've been there prior to the war. And realistically, we don't have any war anymore in Sierra Leone. That is over 20, 25 years ago. But still, the effect of that war, they linger on the cost of the transporting of goods and services in and out of the country.
Okay, many thanks. So let me talk real substance about the economy now. So we know, say, there was little bit of growth, and then it stagnates. So that will be between 2016, 2017. And then we see a little bit of growth as well again, where there been something like 2.7%. This was in 2020. These are just, they look something up. I just looked something up in World Bank, briefly. And then, prior to 2020, 2019, there was 5.4% growth. And then we'll begin to see the decline and something really as a consequence of the pandemic, this international thing here. So you see the economy weakening. Is this something you will buy in its entirety, or is there been some mismanagement, or we could have done something else, at least to prevent some of the shock that this economy is going through?
Well, let's give a typical example with the United States of America. When we had a bad leadership, the economy began to get a free fall during the pandemic towards the end, towards the election time, say immediately after the election. But the moment we get sober government, the trajectory changed. Now the economy is shooting up. So that shows leadership matter when it comes to the issues like this, especially in crisis moment. In Will's situation, much of it was mismanaged, because realistically, the corona not impact we like as much as the way it impact other countries them, where they actually get high numbers of cases. So we've been get a lot of opportunities then for able for manage the economy to a point that we not even for they get a drop in the economy in the growth rate. The growth rate, in fact, we've been given an opportunity for us to shoot on the growth rate. I write an article on this one, particularly when I noticed that the central bank don't begin for take measures them, very traditional measures them, but measures the way they don't use in the past, will not get any positive impact on the economy for the past donkey years, based on the advice and recommendations of the IMF and the World Bank. And that is, when a crisis hits, then say throw more money at it. Throwing more money at it, where do you get the money from? The World Bank, IMF, then go tell you, say, then get some soft credit or soft loan when they give you for help you for manage the crisis, then give you grant here and there. But when the grant are when they give you, they know they supervise and look into whether you blow them off or you go transfer money then a Lebanon, now your private account or whatever. They don't care about all of that. But all them loans then it's affecting not only the current generation, it's affecting the future generation. But the most important big mistake where I see the central bank do, then throw money over 500 billion, I believe, for create liquidity in the economy. They're saying they give businessmen them. Unfortunately, we own brother and sister, the way they run business, where they actually produce the basic thing, the way we all consume at the country, they not get part of that one day. Most of the block of the money go to foreigners. They want the way they import goods and services. And if you look at the way how the economy they run, if you take 500 billion loans, you give importers them. Importers know they take 500 billion loans for go import the thing they already import. Now dollars they want, no, so. Okay. That dollar they back in, that loans they back in, they take them back, go to the central bank, drain your reserve, for let them go import them goods and services. Then. Now, if you want for control growth in the economy, it's usually always centered around production. Producing those goods and services we need. I can understand capital goods and for bring down it and come, like machinery, this and that. But what you produce internally, now in the thing where they reflect.
Yeah, but Jesmed, on that basis, what if government, and in fact, it seems like this is not the strongest card that they are playing, and it sounds like something we get some substance, which is the demand for waiting with the sell, also with the generate revenue for show up with economy strengthening them, was weak. Demand for iron ore, demand for diamond, we industry, then we lily industry, the way they get, whether not transportation industry or mineral industry or mining industry, they were all in decline as a consequence of the pandemic.
That is true, but this is how you could have managed that. There are two ways you could have managed that. One, you diversify your investment. You not entirely rely on just the mineral resources where anytime where crisis happen, we are affected. You understand? Now, the second one, you control your budgetary expenditure, the fiscal policies. You control your expenditure. You understand? When you control your expenditure, that means you're able to get enough savings for that you're able to inject some of that money into the productive sectors of the economy. Now, with regards to the wire, they not only increase the expenditure, then begin for frivolously spend money pity fata, then send them money them for go help out with the control of the pandemic and also for help them for create liquidity in the economy. What in them do? Then begin buy their SUV them. Then $70,000, $60,000, $70,000 SUV them. For all the rank and file and then jelly buy all this and that, then you scatter. Then kind of money then they when mommy you not sit down, na makeni, it is suffer in Gary no able for sell because the transport cost don't high. In Gara where they produce, you get 2-3 but what the way they work for them. You know able for sell that Gara, the government no they for can help them. Mami yao where they come up from Bo, you bring in goods them from where name, and they will bring in Gary because people are not getting money where them for buy them because the cost of the transportation too high. That part the way they create in cassava farm, you know, get no injection of liquidity from the government for let go away. And instead, and take that liquidity, then go give foreigners. You don't run an economy like that. That's mismanaging the economy.
Yeah. Okay. And on top of that, I think that's well said. And at the beginning, for grab the principle around that now, that despite the difficulty, there were ways that the economy could have been run with for don't save at least a large number of the things that we already talk about. The heat will not be feeling too much. The
Absolutely.
SUVs, they weigh by 70,000 a piece. That could have gone and made quite a difference to the people that way you mentioned outside, of that basic realm of government. But Jesmed, we also understand, despite all of these donor grants them and etc., public debt has gone up. When they talk about a 7% rise just in 1 year alone, that's quite significant. And this is troubling, isn't it?
It is troubling. It is very troubling. Because one, since Tengaya come within the past 3 years, they don't take loan over $412 million since the last time I checked and 3 months ago. Maybe within that 3 months, and don't put another $50 million deep on top. So like you round up $450 million loan, and then don't take in 3 years. Hey. If we then continue that trajectory, by the time they left, they go double an escromation rate of public debt within the take. Suddenly, then get grants over $570 million we then give to this government for and on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone. Now add 450 million to 570 million.
So we talk about relatively it's over $1 billion.
Now put that there aside. We annual budget is between 950 million to $1 billion. So multiply that by 3. That's 3 billion plus 1 billion, $4 billion. Now I don't play with in the last 3 years. And yet, will people and still they suffer?
Goodness me, this is a kind of revelation. You see, them fingers there need for be crunch, computed, and broke down into Creole. And the people that need for understand this far and wide because there is something hugely at stake. Thank you very much for that. I think I need for take note of this particular part because we will get for cut them, edit them, and send them out so people that understand exactly the kind of money we don't play around just in three years. Jesmed, then consider debt or classified debt, and they talk about we international partners them as or we country as a high risk or in distress. But yet then continue for giving them kind of money there. Broke and done for we how this they happen. I know say international community or we partners them, they get obligation, and especially during periods like this. but they also get responsibility. I know you say earlier on, when they give them money, then they go check whether you can go Lebanon or wherever. But they also get responsibility over a period of time for no who's the money they go. Other than that, you still put money there, and in the end, now the people and therefore feel the weight. Why is it classified as a high distress debt or debt country? Why?
Well, we are high risk debt because over the years, for the past several decades, we accumulate the debt with a certainty, with a default on payment, or they pay on time, something interest no more able to pay. Then you reach a point, a crisis come, then wipe them off. Each time they get for wipe off a debt, that no saying a person an economy where they under too much stress. So when you give them additional loan, the interest will get for be high. But you get to understand one thing. The issue about ensuring that African countries in general and Sierra Leone in particular always be indebted to the World Bank and IMF. Now, a specific reason, both economic and geopolitical reason. You understand? So the amount of money, now nothing to them. $1 billion, now nothing to World Bank and IMF. But let's say Salon gets $1 billion debt, now nothing to them. But that's not the key. The key is now how they're able to use that debt day as a weapon for control with policies them and control not only with natural resources, especially in the past. Right now, there is some little leeway we get because the inflation rate is not dictated as they used to be in the time of Sheikh Stephen. Now it's a floating rate where they use, where are the forces of demand and supply, they influence them, where based on the certain changes in the trajectory of the economy. But the fact that we are indebted to them make it easier for IMF, World Bank, and WTO for dictate to the government them in terms of the kind of policies that wouldn't go under we adopt. So the amount of the money are nothing to them.
Okay. Again, in terms of this money, what they talk about high stress, debt, country, and etc. My understanding, and this is what I want for you break down for we audience as well. They talk about it's as a consequence of heightened insolvency, and they quote this again from the World Bank, and liquidity risk as a consequence of COVID-19. How are these two related to this high debt stress nation who they talk about? In other words, Jesmed, what is heightened insolvency or solvency in this case and liquidity risks?
Good. Now, then no say we major source of foreign currency for that we pay off with debt is not based on the goods and services or the manufacture and export like China and other Asian countries they do, or Nigeria or Ivory Coast they do, or Ghana they do. It's purely mostly centered around the export of raw mineral resources. After 60 years, we still export raw mineral resources. So whenever they see a shakeup in that area, like in this case now, you get like Sarah Rutile, don't give notice, say, in the next 6 months, then they pull out because they're not able for on that, on the not cost effective for let them continue to operate. Mm-hmm. That's why we get the Sierra Mining Company, where they're in a court, they're not in the mine, the iron ore. So the World Bank, IMF, and international community know say, the moment we get crisis now the mining sector, will liquidity problem increase to the point that then the world begin for worry whether we'll be able to meet with debt obligations. So because of that, then they put we risk level high. And risk level high means interest rate per loan, what would they take? It's going to be high. But the other thing where people already understand, where they stress with foreign reserve, because then they also look at the foreign reserve ratio. You understand? That's the foreign reserve as a ratio to your gross domestic product, GDP. Then they look at the debt ratio also in relation to your foreign reserve. So all then calculation, and then they begin for determine, say, that's why I almost not in reserve what they get. 100 million, 200 million, 400 million, $500 million. but then debt now 1 billion. Or now almost in they pay every month or every year, $250 million every year. If then debt ratio, the amount of money we then get for pay every year, is almost 50% of the foreign reserve. Oh, that one day, not way for be careful. Because one, the crisis happens just now, we know we'll get to your money back. So the interest rate will get for be high. But the other two way they stress with foreign reserve, what people don't really understand. Now the frivolous way, where we government officers then, they spend the money out of we treasury. Marabio alone, according to the Africanist press, don't spend over $3 million. Over 3, I'm being conservative. I don't say the figure past one. Over $3 million just for travel no more. Under per diem and other kitchen. Per diem, they go to Ram. Per diem, they go to in where for or to the sleep at the same bed. Per diem, in woman, they get pocket money. We're not a government officer. If they get per diem for eat food, when they all two they eat at the same plate too. Mother bio they get in your wife, they get in you. Now the first tennis they see say first lady, they get in your entourage and what way they mean them. So the money they were in the siphon, all that money they not only so as they step outside Sierra Leone, now dollars and get for use for buy. It's about many factory that 3 million they for don't be.
Yeah.
Now assume say mother bio no go fly, all them play. Then they say they bring waiting and call investors. Let them show you one investor, one factory they don't build. Instead of them build factory, we want me Ghanaian frame in the last minute, the last 10. Then say, bo, una young president. What we young picking in Ghana? We they teach them how for make and fly plane. Una young president go to House of Parliament. The biggest investment we say they bring come for the youth them is a car wash. The man said today the man laugh me. Anytime he's talking, how is your car wash doing? I say, how is man the car wash doing? The next one at Tapalapa bread factory. So that's $3 million day. What they don't fit fata all over the world. Put on a per diem. We don't almost don't go to Lebanon bank account now different in the one day now. That one day for don't bill. If you give me $3 million, I guarantee you that they give 4 factories in a salon. Yeah. 3 to 4 factories that go bill inside salon with $3 million.
Yeah, Jesmed. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
But yet you can't resist laughing, and I like the way how you actually put up, because this is exposing the rot as it's supposed for be exposed. Exactly. And people need for understanding. So breaking them down to that point that you fly all the fly. If you be bring back, then waiting you care go, it doesn't really matter, because it go equivalent or more than waiting you spend for global income. It's like an investment. Exactly. But then you break and down again as per the way how then they share per diem. Now, me first time are they able for you that kind of breakdown where you break and down. So, in other words, the way how then they shape the per diem. That the president and the they sit down at the same table and dine the same time, because now one food they come, one order they come, but yet they get different per diem for the food way then they eat. That seems like exploitation.
It is exploitation. It's stealing. It's robbery. It's corruption.
Wow.
There's not to worry about it.
Okay. Jesmed, we will come back. There are many things that we will come back to. I think we will talk about the economy, and this never really ends. But today we will go back there, but there are so many other areas for that we cover. Fambulem, today, the 30th of May, 2021. This is Prince Emil Koma, the anchor na then and now media empire platform. They host one of the most vociferous voice as Unadoya is so far na the platform, and that is that of Mr. Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma, where they help we for understand many things, and we have not been disappointed thus far. I want to go into the judiciary little bit. Let we go more Panam. There are times when the judiciary can pull some, I want to call them some political / diplomatic coup once in a while. Of course, if you dig deep down into that, it seems like all stage managed, I will say, because we can go back again and look at circumstances and then celebrate that. But you have been at the end of the stick at one time, politically speaking. You were jailed, you were manhandled, you were roughed by a previous government. So you know what it is like. And they talk about the judiciary, Jesmed. Kamaremba, a political leader, a owner and president for your own party, jailed for almost like a year now under a judiciary that claimed to be clean, open, independent. Of course, there are question marks about that. And not only Kamarimba, because he's high profile. The least of those profiles, like the one that I know, is a boy that was shot at the residence of Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Lahai Lawrence Lima, over a year ago. This boy, according to the story, is still languishing at Pademba Road, even though he gets a bullet now in foot. He's not been accorded treatment or be treated like a Sierra Leonean, supposed to get treatment, whether in a criminal or not. And in this case, he's not even a criminal because he explained himself. Rob this judiciary in terms of the Kamarimba, the little boy called Scott who was shot, the deputy minister in place. What do you think? What are your real thoughts about this judiciary? I'm not saying a man we can speak your mind without fear or favor.
Well, the truth is, we do not have an independent judiciary. That is a plain naked truth. The judiciary is influenced in 2 or 3 ways. Through political machination, through economic or financial interest, or through personal vendetta. Now, with respect to the political machination, is because we get a very weak legislative body. They're not able to provide protection for the judiciary. There are 3 branches of government, but the entire power structure is centered around the executive branch. The executive branch can extend in power and bully any of the other branches, but only if you have a very strong legislative branch, now you're able to provide covers and protection for the judiciary. Unfortunately, the judiciary, they are on their own. They are at the mercy of the executive branch in 2 ways, 2 fundamental ways. 1, actually 3. 1, the appointment of judges, it's entirely controlled by the executive branch, because as it is, the executive branch controls the legislature. So whatever the president says, that's what happens. Okay. He can dictate the impeachment of any judge. And that can be done in a second, because we have the most corrupt Speaker of Parliament, who is very partisan, even though the system was set such that we get somebody with integrity that is not partisan to be Speaker. That is why somebody can be a Speaker who is not elected as a member of Parliament. The reason why they did that is because they didn't want a member of Parliament becoming a Speaker who is obligated to be partisan to their own party. So they created that avenue so that we can have a Speaker that can be independent-minded. But we get one of the most partisan, most corrupt, most unethical Speaker in a very long time in the history of Sierra Leone today.
Yeah.
So the judiciary are at the mercy of the executive in that area. The second area, the judiciary is at the mercy of the executive in the area of the allocation of resources. The executive branch dictates the budgetary allocation to the judiciary. So even if they don't allocate funding to a specific department or to the judiciary, even the disbursements of those funds is still controlled by the executive branch. The type of car the judges in the drive, the kind of fringe benefits they get, whether they get their salary on time, is dictated by the executive branch. Nobody to protect them. Nobody to protect the judiciary. So because of that, it is hard for them to be independent. The third and most crucial one. Now, assuming you're a judge, and you are administering a case, judicating over a case that the president or the minister of interior is interested in. And you want to act as an independent judge. But when you think the security that mans your wife and kids at home is provided by that minister of interior, your life is entirely in the hands of the executive branch. How will you, the judge, be able to be independent in a situation like that?
Okay.
So in that situation, I can understand when judges then can find it hard for being independent. But there are other areas the judges can be independent if they get the moral and ethical principle upon which they're expected to be administering justice on. And that is where we are lacking so many areas. For fix the first one, the judges do not get no influence until we get a political party or a leadership where we go look into the problem, like I don't analyze and so, you're able to change the entire structures of government such that you're able to provide protection for the judiciary to an extent that they're not able to be machinated and controlled by the executive branch.
That's the question I was going to ask, Jesmed, yeah, and you lay ahead, but I will ask it anyway. And here is the way I want to ask him. We know, say, that one of the good tenets of democracy, if you like, now the building, the supporting, and the strengthening of the legal system in the country, which I think you've spoken to and spoken about. If what you don't say is the case, and we always get moral guarantors, and we people them are always the victim, how, despite what you just say, because people have been saying it just like you're saying it, and it's not happening. Justice Cowan get a reviewed constitution where they gather dust because no president is willing to go there for strip them off in powers. How can we effect this change, Jesmed? We the people, I mean we the people with a capital P.
The facts are as follows. Fact number one, no APC government elected to power will effect the change. Fact number two, no SLPP power government elected into power, including the Paupanistas, will effect the change. Because power and the access it provides is addictive. It's like a drug, like when man is sniff cocaine. When you don't become addicted to it, you have to get a farm. So when we don't establish that fact, they will put that one this aside. The only option we'll get now for bringing a different political party to power. Now, when we get a different political party to power, we'll also be mindful, say, now the same animals they will get now alone, now they can form that political party they will. You see the logic?
Yeah.
So if some of them, if you not get individuals that will understand the nature of how things are operating, we're ready for sacrifice and put their life on the line, for make sure say any new political party we elect, we're able for push their agenda and therefore put them into action. Even a new political party, no way would do it. Until you're able to identify individuals them within them political party, then they will go and trust, then drive them therefore for them go push the one then. So this is how it can be done. I have written I've written a document on it, and not an article, and not publisher. How to reform the judiciary. So after some time, we'll send some excerpts to you.
Thank you.
As I mentioned to you, the executive branch already get control of the police. In my opinion, they should have no control over the prisons. The prisons should be directly under the Chief Justice. That is step number one. So which means when they arrest somebody, by our constitution, that person should not be held for more than 3 days. So that is the extent of the powers of the executive branch if then they control the police, because at the police station and they're responsible for enforce the law. But because the constitution forced them to charge the person to court, That means when they charge the person to court, that comes under the judiciary in control. The judiciary dictates as to whether that person will sleep another day in prison, in cell. That person will go back to police. You go straight to the central judicial system under the judiciary, the prison system under the judiciary. So that means the interior minister will go hold another politician. He say, when I go lock up na Pademba Road. Why will you do that when you don't have power over Pademba Road anymore? That's under the Chief Justice. You understand? Now, what does that mean? But the most crucial part why that system they need to be introduced is because one, the prison now will now be equipped with all the security gears. You go to England, prison officers, and they're gone. You go to America, prison officers, they're well armed like soldier banded. Other parts than at the wall, prison officers are all well armed. But the reason why we need to arm our prison officers and train them is because we can now rely on them to provide security for all the judicial system. So a judge now go then a court, he afraid say that policeman where they now the interior minister don't send him, you go begin panic. But if that judicial, that security system under the prison, then they provide security for the judges, for the magistrates and all court officers, then they go lessen the scare and the threat where the judges and they face when they advocate over cases that we politicians are interested in. Then they don't weaken the executive branch in one area. The second one is the allocation of resources. We need to get a legislation in the parliament where they require a mandate judiciary for dictate their own budgetary allocation. You understand? Where the Minister of Finance go incorporate her inside it, but no get no power for change them until you go to the House of Parliament. Right now, as it is, the Minister of Finance go say, the judiciary, una give me una own budgetary, whatever, estimate this and that, they get a committee, they bring up. The minister can go butcher, no, this, I don't want this judge forget this motokai, I don't want this one forget his benefits, I know this or other allowance here too much. Bam. The minister got a power for do right now. But what I'm saying, the minister, the executive branch, if we want to have the three branches to be independent, the allocation of resources to the judiciary should be dictated by a committee within the judiciary, when they submit a copy to the Minister of Finance, they submit a copy to the House of Parliament. Where for go for
just bought in there because it sounds all good on pen and paper. For put them into practice, of course, you go get in your own hitches. For example, what you are seeing to this, we know say the three arms of government naturally then tell we they are independent when they are not actually independent. Mm-hmm. So waiting agara you they say it's about the processes and procedures like stripping the president of resources and certain things that way it gets say over or some veto over. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing boiled down to reducing the powers of the president via the constitution, not so, and empower and build state institutions and empower the institutions to do the work.
Yeah. So the third one, I make the third one, now the appointment of judges. You understand? Like how they do that Kenya, they get an independent body. We're responsible for that. Where they make that kind of recommendation indeed. So we need something of that nature. We get a balanced independent body. But that independent, that body independence is also to the extent at which their interest is being protected or their powers are being protected. So that the president, go be the president at your own prerogative for you to go choose somebody, say, oh, well, let this be judge or let's be chief justice or this and that, or they can't fire the chief justice. For let go fire a chief justice in Kenya. Yeah. You the president, don't go to work. You understand? So that kind of system, and I'm Dr. Kane Kolayo Mukela, the advocate for. Now bring the Kenya system into Sierra Leone. Now make the Kenya, you see how the Supreme Court they rule the case against the government on several occasions, even on election time.
Again, it was as a consequence of actions by the people, and they can be used the word earlier on with a capital P. Thousands of lives were lost. They were willing, and this is why I'm trying to speak to Jesmed. If we really want these changes where you talk about, assuming theoretically that you are a leader, you're gonna have to need the support of the people, my brother, because these two sides they're so knee deep into this morass, this political morass that you yourself don't identify that for do away with all of these things we will talk about. It's going to take like bringing down the entire Freetown, if not the country.
Let's say something.
Uh-huh.
I just come on salon, you have know that.
Yeah, I did watch some of your interviews, by the way.
With people, they are so hungry for the right leadership. I swear to me, living God, if you get the right leadership like the Jerry light of relation and salon, you don't need plenty to talk.
So I was going to come to that, and that's interesting that you don't already preempt that. We will come to that. I love that. Let me shelve that little bit because we will come to real politicking. I want to talk little substance and little science.
But you talk about the people support, right? Let's him say me a president right now. You understand? If I continue to do the right thing with the people they want, believe me, I don't need for preach. Now then go they support me. You go see the massive popularity where the president go get. The people are hungry for good.
Yeah, like a MAGA fully sort of a moment.
Fully type of way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about the people. Yeah. Yeah, but again, why should they talk about all of this? Still sticking with the judiciary, Jesmed. Access to justice is still highly discriminatory. Only the haves, the powerful, can get some kind of justice. In other words, justice is selective. If you are nobody, there's a complete discrimination. You go languish, die in jail, buried as a pauper. How long are we going to keep up with this, Jesmed?
It's killing us. It's killing us. It's killing our youth. It's killing our people. It's draining our resources. It's weakening our economy. It has such a serious adverse effect on every aspect of life because of the weakness and the rottenness of the judicial system.
Okay.
Today, I can give you examples. Today, if person get case, now 3 things now go save you from the case. Not to the fact of the case, not to whether you right or wrong. The only thing where the 3 things the way they save you: 1, whether you get political connection; 2, whether you get financial influence; 3, whether you get some direct influence with the judge or the magistrate who they administer your case. So much so that where you look for lawyer, and they tell everybody, when you look for lawyer in a salon, not look for lawyer on the basis of whether the lawyer sabi the law, or he learn so much book, or he don't take too much at the judiciary. No. When you look for lawyer in a salon, based on one criteria and one criteria only. What is the strength of the lawyer's influence in front of the judge when they present the case to?
Okay. Jesmed, I want to play with first video, and I want to let you help for analyze this video. Let's see whether I'm able to forget with first video. Fambulem, by the way, this now the then and now media empire they come to today, the 30th of May 2021. And me when they talk to I mean Prince Emil Koma, and they talk to a very special guest, Mr. Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma. They ask una shape, you know, the national conversation, like I can say, it on. And it's almost imperative that when we talk we need for share let other people and let them make a decision for themselves. This is information that's been put out there. Even myself, this is a learning process for me, and I've learned a lot tonight, and it could be you. I want to play the first video for we guests. Let me see whether it will able help we for analyze them. Very, very important, and this is what we do here. Let me see whether we're able to find this video quickly. Let me guest help we for analyze this video. Fambulendia una bear with we. This video is about 2 minutes 46 seconds. I will play about 1 minute plus and pause them and la yeri for me.
Good morning, compatriots. My name is Francis Ben Kaifala, and I am Renaissance. The Sierra Leone Renaissance movement has called on fellow Sierra Leoneans to wear black on Monday. We call it Black Monday. It's the Monday where we are supposed to show our dissatisfaction at the way the country has been run. Since independence to date, the Sierra Leonean has had a life that is less than what we would desire. We wake up in the morning worrying about the basic things that the rest of the world has forgotten. We worry about electricity, we worry about water supply, we worry about food, we even worry about security. Successive governments have failed us. This is the time for the Sierra Leonean to refuse to accept less and request more. We have to show our leaders that poverty is not a way of life. It is something which is man-made.
Make I just pause on right there. Fambulen, for them, one the way they watch, we maybe not recognize them because there's been some changes, you know, to the speaker. This now the ACC boss, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala Esquire. I mean, this was prior to him becoming ACC boss, and una all hearing for yourself. What he was saying then was quite true. Okay, that people can come out for go express themselves if they feel dissatisfied with the system. The only irony about this is a similar thing, at least by many voices, many people, is now occurring. There is a scarcity of electricity. There's a scarcity of goods and services. Hunger is on the up. Poverty is on the up. Many things are on the up. But like I say, I will allow the guests for analyze down there for we, both in the then and in the now. Jesmed.
Yeah, as you rightly say, the basic standard of living of people don't drop. Rameko will talk about this issue about inflation, where this government they boast about, say they don't bring inflation down to single digits. It's good. It's true, say they don't bring it down to single digits. But what mechanism do they take to bring it down at the expense of the growth of the economy? How then do them? They hoard the loans. The issue about inflation is about people having access to money to buy the goods and services that they want to buy. And if you have too many loans to buy few goods, the prices of the goods will continue to go up. But at the expense of doing that, they hoard the loans, will make it difficult for us to be able to produce certain goods and services. We make it difficult for let people able to get access to the loans itself for buy some of the things that with them. The best way for reduce inflation, way sustainable. So which means their own approach not sustainable because it affects the economy, it affects the GDP, the growth rate. The best way for change inflation, there are two major ways. One, increase production of goods and services locally. For increase the production of goods and services locally, you therefore create liquidity. Creating liquidity also therefore pose a threat to inflation. So now
the problem here, Jesmed, is when a man you know in profession in a certain discipline or a passionate about certain discipline, even when you ask him a question about one thing, even though he will come to that, but he will digress. So would they go to that because we self want understand and ask the question within our inflation and how they affect things. But I'll go back again to Ben Kaifala because I want to talk about the judiciary and corruption, the fight against corruption, both in the then and now. The man is now the boss of the corruption bureau.
Yes. So you see, Ben Kaifala, you know, say he been represent me before during my case where
that's news to me.
Yes, where Anes Kumabi arrest me, and the guy we been represent me. And he came across as very professional. Honestly speaking, when I tell you professional, he was really professional as an individual. You understand? Eh?
You're not implying that he's not professional any longer, are you?
Well, I'll talk about in terms of my own experience then. Because human beings can change.
Let's hear you out.
Human beings can change. You understand? Eh? Now the first lawyer and the way 10 reach for let go to court. And first they call you in the morning for remind you. You understand? Eh? It reached there before you. Very few lawyers in the do that in a salon. Lawyers in a salon, they get case with them. Now you go for the big and for remind them who stand court name. But naturally you know court self. Oh, but me are not even count me way name self. But okay, I go make later I join them. Young lawyer, then they go talk later I join you case. Not to Ben Kaifala. Ben Kaifala, now he forced to reach the court before you. That's how serious he is. He's a very professional guy. That side I cannot take that away.
But again, you see,
but in terms of the role where they play,
one moment, Jesmed, you can forgive me. I'm so tempted because normally I not elect for speculate, but at the same time I elect for speculate. The way you talk about improfessionalism then, I almost want to say, with the benefit of hindsight now, is it possible because it'll be high profile person, and we know Ben Kaifala in campaign, now we see him for what it is now. So he been determined for expose some of them things that they leading to the path where we are now. That's a possibility, isn't it? And just to speculate, by the way. A quick for go out of track.
But again, the other thing we'll get for member, Ben Kaifala is not perfect. And there are a lot of things that he's doing wrong. Understand? But comparatively, he is the best anti-corruption commissioner we've ever gotten in my own lifetime. Yes. Because he's actually fighting corruption. The one the way they fight, and the political corruption where they happen now. And the thing where I find problematic, the fact that say when it comes to the politics, they don't politicize the fight against corruption. There are sacred cows that he knows they are as corrupt and stinkily corrupt than the word corruption itself, but he's not touching them.
That puts his entire fight into question.
Now he has to now choose, Ben Kaifala has to now choose, either I do my job effectively and at least risk me being fired.
Yeah.
Because Marabio is quick for do that. He's very corrupt. Anybody want to touch him in your corruption side, believe in me.
You go.
No go pull well. Either that or he put in eye down, overlook the stinking corruption where they happen at the top, and at least able for fight, the little way able for fight around them. But if I'm in position, I'd rather lose my job.
But Jesmed is absolutely a conflicted man by many respects, and you make the case, but at least you try for give some kudos and some partner at the back, which make you a little bit generous. But if you were put there to fight a particular cause, yes, you made a sweeping statement and the best corruption boss ever to some respect. But the fact that he's looking the other way, and not only looking the other way, he's made statements backing people at the top, the political corruption, as if they are not corrupt. He's praised the First Lady, and the First Lady is immersed in corruption.
Really? He has praised the First Lady?
Oh, yes, he has. He has. Many times the videos are out there. I'm not making this up. Because he's weak. Because of what you say again. He cannot do it. He cannot touch the president. And say the president may swear to Ram, where he declare the making declaration. So it almost sounds like a court between them all two. Now to another, he goes swear almost he can't wait before he turn president. And now they all two know that secretly. So we can understand clearly. So in some people's view, this is not the man for fight the corruption because he don't compromise 49,000 bags of rice.
Corruption, they start with integrity. A man of integrity with principle.
Absolutely.
That should be the one to drive you. Not political interest, not financial interest, not party interest, but your integrity and your responsibility to the constitution that you serve. When you lose that, you are no more relevant. And as it is, he is disappointing a lot of us. A lot of us.
Yes, indeed.
But what to make us say that initial comment is because in comparison to what in Ade Macaulay, this is 10 times better.
I mean, there are many stories that could go on and on and on because let me be honest. I admired him as a young lawyer. I admired the work that he was going to do. I started talking a lot about him and we programmed them. I even carry in quotes, about how the fight against corruption is a holy war. Because we want to see, we don't say corruption at the end, but corruption being so rampant that we want to see it mitigated. Unfortunately, and I think that it comes with good mind for combat this corruption. But again, it's unfortunate that the team we can for combat the corruption with, they are more corrupt and he can't afford, for this them, then he say in the underworld. He can't do that because he's conflicted, he's compromised. So
yeah, he's very much compromised.
He's very much compromised.
The fact is, if the anti-corruption boss allows corruption to happen under his nose, and to the extent of praising those who are corrupt,
absolutely,
that means you are corrupt too.
Yeah.
And you can't fight corruption.
He is. It's unfortunate.
Now, what he make the statistics they show good trajectory in the area of corruption is because at least he's making an effort for, but then Sabi control the media.
Yeah, but this is exactly what I was going to say. This is exactly what's happening. They've spent massive amounts of money, and I'm not saying this. Go check the Auditor General's report. Some of the money that we're missing there, we know say it went to farms, PR farms, consultancies, chief minister. Just forget these accolades and these praises from the international community and few CSOs where the Africanist press may say they get for publish those names that have been compromised when are part of this enterprise.
Then Sabi come up with those soundbite things
yes.
where they make the press pick them up, but then they see the ending. For instance, when I say this one, like waiting that episode in New York, where $3.something million, then siphon them, then say for go do renovation. Within 24, 48 hours, that guy don't go arrest 2-3 people, and God knows what thing will happen. But when the international community go don't sit down there now and go say, oh, these guys are serious.
Absolutely.
But then they see the ending. The ending, none of the team. Towards the end, I'm gonna make deal now, then people and they go scot-free. And the other thing now, the only way why they tell you, the only way we go change Salon, now for change the party, change APC and SLPP completely.
I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Suma. I absolutely agree with you.
Ghana do am. Now make Ghana then get a new president and get a new political party, then they grow. Nigeria do am. Ivory Coast do am. Senegal do am. All that country that wait the whole party them, all politicians, because it's not about the individual anymore. It's the institution itself.
Yeah.
When the party in culture is corrupt, is endemically corrupt, anybody will shoot out to come up from an election and Angel Gabriel, you're going to be corrupt.
So the worst one where you lawyer do, just before I move away from there, is that won't be so brazen. The first lady made many denials about not being. This is really telling, Jesmed, about not being corrupt, about monies the way that they accuse them about, specifically the Africanist press.
Even before the Africanist press, that woman maybe go talking at the Gambia. Sierra Leone money, penny.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And when the Africanist press persisted,
boss.
Absolutely, with incontrovertible evidence, and then they started accepting but trying to rationalize them, but abusing the processes and procedures. Then when the former ambassador of the US spoke publicly and on 98.1 say, this year I don't look past Marco, all these these publications. So you cannot only look or investigate corruption externally, you have to look internally. Now that immediately Ben Kaifala say, well, I go look into the office of the first lady, not only this one this time, but he went 14 years back into the investigation of the presidency.
That's again politicizing the fight against corruption. Because that's your politics. If you mean they fight corruption, why you not been under all this time for looking the first lady you win him there? Password no can catch you know first lady hand inside the till.
This fella play you one other video we done the we're very important in this conversation where we hold publicly for the interest of the Salon people them. This now the president in interview na CNN. I don't play a couple of times, but possibly kind of the platform and not playing for their family your analysis. I know say you don't listen to them. Take a listen.
The chief minister and the first lady, your wife, have actually misused public funds. How will they be held accountable?
Ask him. Exactly. Good question.
There's a prescription for whatever happens. If that is the case, and it's proven in a court of law or by the commission, they either ask to pay for it or there are different forms of punishment for that.
Wow.
They will have to.
On top of that, you recently hired a brand new finance minister who was accused of long-standing corruption in the previous administration. What message does that send to Sierra Leoneans?
No good example. No good example.
Again, you've used the word accused. And he has had to go through a very long legal process to prove that he is not guilty. So, like I said earlier, it is easier. Anybody can make such claims, outlandish claims, or that the other person is corrupt. But we are a law-abiding country, and we go through the entire length to make sure that when claims or allegations are made, we prove them.
Okay, I think this is that much. Jesmed, did you take a look at the interviewer in face? Take a look the next day you watch the video and look the girl in face. But anyway, your thoughts, please.
Yes. Well, if nothing else, will send the message to the people of Sierra Leone that when it comes to corruption, it starts with this White House, State House. This particular interview tells it all. It shows how Madabio is corrupt to the core. There is no two way about it. For those of us that have studied his modus operandi, the way he's been leading groups and institutions and so on and so forth, there are two things always associated with them. Whenever Madabio leads a group, a government, a party, or an institution, there are two things always associated with it. And those two things, one, corruption, two, violence. Forget politics. Go over Madabio in history. Forget politics. So just look him as a neutral person. You look in life na the army. You look in life to the time when they plot a coup, then take over a government. You look in life for the time we plot a coup, a palace coup, he took over the government. You look in life to the time that 3 months rules alone. You look in life for where he go take over the political party, na Salon SLPP party. The violence the way happen when they attacking opponents them and so on and so forth. You look in life to now we don't take power as government. Everything is always associated with two things: violence and corruption.
Wow.
So you cannot squeeze water out of stone.
Okay.
The man gives you what he's made of. He gives you only what he's made of.
Well said, Jesmed. Well said. I want to talk a little bit of politics, but I want to begin with the cyber security or the cyber bill where they try to introduce, where most likely most people think based on circumstances in the past that eventually it will pass. But the idea behind cyber bill, Jesmed, you will know that you live in the United States, is nothing way for able for support the promotion of economic and social development. People are not going to understand that in that context, but that's what it is for safeguard the principles of the government and the structures of institutions. So in other words, that's promoting social development. And B, online rights. Even we donor partners with international partners, i.e. the Commonwealth, these are the things that they ask for. And in fact, now motion the way they sponsor. But we not seen for, I don't know, Jesmed, probably you know this, whether we will get any cyber legislation prior to the introduction of this cyber crime bill, or we will get any framework in place. The idea why they not
being yet, no.
Yeah. So the idea that they bring this cyber bill and one can stuff and down people and their throat, just like that in that raw form, not even do the due diligence is another thing we raise eyebrows. And I think the people were right. What do you think about that process they just made?
The process is dictatorial because there are certain requirements and way they need to follow, including allowing the House of Parliament for debate and stuff like that. I not get the time yet for, I not be not taking the time yet for read through the entire bill. I know people and don't make some criticism of them, but the kind of thing way I want SLPP remember, the pauper they remember carefully and carefully very well, is that the 1965 law,
Riots or how they call them, yeah?
where they don't repeal,
Public Order Act.
Public Order Act and repeal,
Part of them.
was enacted by an SLPP government, Albert Magai. But it was enforced against him and his party by APC. So when then they pass a cyber bill thinking say because they get control over the levels of power, let them remember say, oh, there is no power that is permanent except that of God. No power is permanent. However strong you think you are, no power is permanent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saddam Hussein thought he was untouchable. Today he's gone. Gaddafi, whoever thought Gaddafi will end the way he ended, today he's no more. Blaise Compaoré, whoever thought he would run away from his own country, he had control over the army, the police, every forces. He was from the army, but he was booted out of Burkina Faso. So these guys need to think hard for posterity, but they are narrow-minded right now, just focus on 2023, which are now hard. They want to push it to 2025. This is the time we should raise the alarm. It's a complete breach of our constitution. But blame it on an Eskroma, and I start that. Now he start for breach of constitution, he push election date, find all kinds of flimsy excuses. Now the paupers and now want to capitalize on them. Why? What argument do they have for Corona? What Corona? Because they want for machinate themselves into power. If you know say a good government you don't deliver, no free election. But any government where you see the free election, no say they don't do bad. And they afraid say the people and they boot them out.
Okay, Jesmed. we run out of time, and we get so many more things for cover quickly. So we'll try to see whether we can rush to as many and end up on the economy, hopefully, if you not sleep me. But Fambulem, today, the 30th of May, we are having a very good conversation here. It was supposed to be the week in review, but you talked to a very clever brother, an academician for that matter, highly respected within the political community, the social media space, and he speaks truth to power. He's not known for sitting on the fence, and I'm having Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma with me here tonight. Jesmed, there appears to be, I want to go to human rights quickly because there is so much, talk about the violation of people's rights. So I wonder we touch on that briefly because it looks like there is a lack of respect and abuse for both civil, not only civil, but political, economic, and social rights of we people. We people basically have been brutalized. And I'm not saying this, I'm not making this up. We wake up every morning, we see the videos, we see writings, we see police, they kidnap, not arrest. The case of a guy they called Michael, we I think say he wear black for protest because somebody say for wear black, only expressing that. He was kidnapped, put into a vehicle, daylight, and they record him, taken away. Many others, including Dr. Sylvia Blinded, who was never arrested but rather kidnapped. We see a journalist kidnapped, never taken through the process, and they talk about Sal Jallo. So this seemed like a recurring theme and a kind of pattern, which is kind of fearful. Speak to the abuses there for we, please.
Again, I alluded to it earlier. It's part and parcel of the DNA of those in power. Violence, brutality, thuggery, fascism is part and parcel of certain individuals within this pauper government. Collectively, they form the core of what dictates the direction of this government. You get people inside this government where they mastermind the civil war we don't go through. So the issue about war, killing, bloodthirstiness, attacking people, feeling good about it, cyber warfare, when they wage against, when they get people inside this government where me and they don't spar on social media, where the language they use if they see the raw violence in them, I don't care how many PhDs they get, but the inner core is just imposing power and force on others. They enjoy it. Like a vampire, they enjoy sucking blood. You understand? Now, so some of them enjoy inflicting pain on others unjustly.
Wow. Okay.
So if you understand that, then you know, say, we get a challenge ahead of us for make sure, say, then Gaia, they don't sit back in the house, in the power structure of this of our nation after 2023.
But it's about the replacement, but I will come to that. Yes. So that's one thing, but it's about the replacement. It's like replacing one devil where you consider the greater devil with another devil where at this point in time you consider for be lesser of a two evil. But we'll come to that, Jesmed. Still one role parliament, especially with the mining deal. We can't talk about the mining. It's also related to the government. We say we are in the Africanist, especially Chenoba. We talk about processes and procedures being abused, and we see that on this. There was some form of bureaucracy, regardless of how we may not like the APC, especially if we do a root analysis, if we do a contrast between the two, there was some form of bureaucracy. This one looked rampant because with the gone APC government, I mean, they go and initiate an parliament, regardless of being rubber stamped. So they get some form of legitimacy where we go say was kind of illegitimate, but it was carried out there. What they speak to Jesmed is like, for example, the mining contract. The leader of the opposition party in parliament sound off the alarm some time ago, say there is this mining where this man and don't go sign this deal without our knowledge, and you're not supposed to bypass parliament at all. So even when he sound that off, the contract still went ahead and was signed by members of the government, and as we speak, that mining without the knowledge of parliament, as stipulated by the constitution, is ongoing. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous pattern, and it seems like the ante is being upped. And like they say, if they not bring a different kind of government, it will seem like it repeats all over again. This cannot be tolerated, Jason.
I blame it on the opposition. I blame government. Because you know a vampire, you know a vampire. You know what a vampire will do. You understand? So all you have to do now, what do I do to put an end to that vampire? You don't
How do you do that?
Good. If I was in the opposition, I don't even need to head the opposition. I don't even need to head maybe like APC will get plenty seats in the parliament.
They might be listening to you. Advice.
I just need to be in the House of Parliament. I will sue the government. I will sue the speaker. I will sue the president in the house of in the court of law. Now then control the judiciary. But guess what? During that court proceeding, the entire nation and the entire world will know the constitutional breaches. That's all I care about. It's not about winning. It's about sending a statement and let them know not everybody is a fool, and let them know not everybody is a sissy. Let them know there are people who are ready to put their lives on the line to save the soul of our nation.
Right.
But you need a political platform to ride on.
Right. This sounds like very much like the art of war. Jesmed, we see all the muzzling of this same parliamentarian there. Or can I just put it differently? You feel that they are complicit in the manipulation, the looting and raping and plunder by this government? You feel the opposition is complicit, at least to some degree?
Yeah, they are. They are certainly accomplice to it.
Right.
I know some of them are terrified because of the same thing that we are alluded to.
Yeah.
The threat, violence with the game. In other words, if Nelson Mandela was scared of the powers that be at that time, he will never have been able to free South Africa from apartheid.
Right.
But when you are determined, you have a vision, fear is secondary. You're driven by your vision and your determination to see results.
Jesmed, we also witnessed during this period, allegedly, by mainstream media, respectable mainstream media, about the sale of we rainforest. The government been quick for come out and try for massage that conversation. Like you said from the beginning of this conversation, they some kind of machine in place. We quick for go on the defensive and then the offensive. But we then know from international sources that the Chinese government and over 200 acres of land, rainforest land, has been sold to the Chinese for some fishing project. What are your thoughts? What do you know about this particular topic?
Now, me not in believe say now fishing harbor the one for bill.
Because it's too massive, eh?
Not only that, massive is good. Fishing harbor is supposed to be massive, but there are so many.
No, I mean the area, the mass of the area, it's too massive. There's some more acre of land.
Exactly. You know, so if they really need a port, a fishing port that is deep, I can show them 3. That is not winning water. I can show them 3. One of them is Kitchum in Cambia district. The port is deep. All kinds of ships go able for going inside there. Then go able for build a massive fishing port there. Allah say no go Kitchum. Solima or Bunt. Then they fishing a full back.
So why there? Why that particular point in your view? Which you know, or what's going on?
My own rationale behind it, because of the Chinese want to have an easy way of diverting our port, Wataki.
Yeah.
Easy way of diverting, bypassing the central part of the city to access Wataki in the export of their timber. You know where it come up from Peninsula, from Waterloo. Yeah. You don't need it for Kandong, Wellington anymore. You understand? You pass straight, and that bypass with the BAP go to Blackwater, whatever the loading sand I go. The Chinese and the they rip we nation not only of timber, stone, granite stone. Then they make marble tiles. Then they make tiles with them. Then they make kitchen top with them. Marble
I mean, the dirty alone is valuable. Just the dirty, then get the name for them. You know, yes. So the dirty is so rich. Yes. Just the dirty.
Then they export all land.
Goodness.
Then now also you bought some kind of a portal in the bill for drug trafficking. But now we will about on it later. Actually, go there, see the construction they go on. And that black Johnson area.
Well, that's what we're talking about, and this is part of the conversation from Bulem. I mean, there is a lot happening, and the idea that is so much day in secrecy. It's really worrying. But as with the
you know how we're able to stop that one day?
No, let us know. This is why we're asking for solutions. Not only talking about the problems, profile solutions, Jesmed.
Let's take a class action lawsuit against the Chinese government.
So what are we waiting? What are we waiting for? We need leadership. We need think tanks, my brother. What are we waiting for galvanize ourselves and begin to make them move the outside of government? I've been saying this for years, and I'm up for it.
If we take a class action lawsuit against the Chinese government on environmental issue, 3 days ago, the oil company lost a case in Europe because of the impact of their actions on the environment.
I like this very much. I like revolutionary talk.
Yes, imagine we contact the environmental agencies then send investigative team and go to Salon for go investigate that environmental impact of that so-called Chinese funded whatever. Then we work with them, then take a class action lawsuit against the Chinese government. Then we withdraw them fund immediately. Then go look for
Exactly. We
different
already
things.
get the advantage because if you read all the Western press regarding that Operation Day, it's so much, yeah, they base on environmental disaster we eventually get for happen because this now on an industrial scale, and you know when the Chinese they perform, it's part of the Road and Belt Initiative, and we have to be careful. But Jesmed, we need to talk about this after after this program, maybe a day or two from now. We really need for the start things like that. This is sort of a good way for go forward. Talking about class action. This is real. This is real talk, not to just talk. So government, if you are listening, it is coming. No longer are we going to sit, and be cowed. No longer. We go explore means and ways for take action for save we country for the future. Because after all, we've got no two Sierra Leone, we've only got one. If you think that you just take action now for enrich yourself and you cabal, and then when I left the country,
then guy stupid.
I understand.
The opportunity then guy gets, you understand? Eh? Now make 2 years, and not ever they criticize them because they give them the benefit of the doubt. Thinking say them go able for restructure things.
No, Jesmed.
God.
I did the same thing.
Well,
I spoke well.
A young man them when you go down canal, then you able for focus on just transforming the economy, get way name them, get the diaspora them, structure them, then can't stop them, they will pump money, we save that country. They may not care about political party. I just care about good leadership, brah.
Well, exactly. And the president and his wife live abroad, that the same place who will struggle from day end to day, from paycheck to paycheck for 2 decades. And you get the opportunity to go back. I was one that was praising the president and things will change. I say you get blank slate because you don't write on that blank slate for a long time.
I said that on audio. I said this now test God they test you so you don't give one opportunity. This is the second opportunity they give for
Anyway, let's not get too drawn into emotion because the practical reality on the ground speaks differently what people are suffering. Jesmed, you are not a fan of the former president, Ernest Bai Koroma. So I want to talk about a little bit in the sense or within the context of waiting to go on within the All People's Congress. Then they're in disarray, and in many respects, some of the members them are asking for reform within the party, notably Mr. Alfred Conte, who lives in the United States there with you. I think you live East Coast, he lives West Coast, wherever. The most important thing is like in the whole entire exercise, I just tell you about the form of the role you play, how you see the future of the party, if you can talk, because one party business also gets a bearing on the nation going forward with politics. What are your views, please? Let's hear you.
Now, the one thing where I want for one other members them of APC where they against Ernest Koroma is let them not allow any element of the power pattern for use them for weakening APC on account of, perhaps any kind of a personal vendetta we then get. But it also speaks to the fact, say, Ernest Koroma has been a threat to APC's future. It is. But at this crucial moment, it will be more disastrous for take Ernest Koroma out. He's both a threat and an asset. Now, the way to create a balance in any two situations, now for let agree for give up the chairmanship position, but be a trustee with something leverage. Because as it is now, the power pass then gets two plans. Plan number one, then plan for push the election to 2025. We'll get ready for that fight day. Plan number two, then ready for lock up any candidate where it put forward as a presidential candidate. All this talk about enforcing the anti-corruption stuff, then they wait for that moment today.
Yeah.
When they say politicizing and fight against corruption, they are really ready for it. They are not playing.
Yeah.
The moment a presidential candidate will be done there before within that particular government, especially Nkrumah government, whether now 1 month is served at that government day in hand dirty. Government mean dirty. So that the moment they say this now we don't settle on, you go see anti-corruption, they go arrest and go lock them up, and then get grounds, and get legal document for proof. So this man don't siphon $100,000 naira, $1 million naira, $2 million naira. Nobody no go see na politicize them because the evidences are there.
I mean, make I take you. Yeah, go on, please.
This thought up. So the best thing an Nkrumah will do for the party right now. One, now for allow reform. You understand? But let him stay there first. Because now he still the bankroll the party. All the other man they will don't thief come out. They not get mind spend by APC and Nkrumah they spend by APC. They nobody through now, yeah. So all the year they going jump say, let Nkrumah come out. If an Nkrumah come out, APC they for down. Yes, if you come out right now, APC go for down. Because they not get the finances for put themselves together.
Okay.
So, but that chairmanship day, and Nkrumah for setting yai, he found a way, get somebody independent, young, way vibrant, waiting all the way in. So when the people where they ask for reform, when I find a way for reach out to an Nkrumah, let when I get a compromise out of court.
Okay.
A compromise, because I don't want a weak option. We need a strong opposition. We're going to take on the Paupanistas.
Okay, Jesmed, I think well said, because I want to say 2-3 key things on that because we fastly run out of time. So one of the things they want to pick up speculatively, the SLPP government or proper government get evidence where they can throw at an Nkrumah, and then they wait for the right time potentially, and be able for drag them into court and then eventually arrest them. Don't you think that would be a dangerous trend, and then try this before they have tested the waters and see, say, the time is not right and a dangerous game that they play, and they sort of back off? Remember a couple of months ago, back and forth, invitation at McKinney, invitation somewhere, and in the end, the ex-president dictated the pace, Usai and when then they go see him, and it became a private issue, other than the one where your friend went on talking, 2 o'clock, the man they come, imagine stature they with that crowd, they go now anti-corruption in the center of town. But the bottom line is, in the end, they meet in privacy. And to me, trying to be a real pundit and think outside of the box, speculating both on the circumstances and some evidence that were available, it's difficult for them to touch him because he's still one of the most powerful and popular person. I know they say powerful person, but it gets people's power behind him. There's a lot of people will like him. So it's dangerous for you just put on Panam. And they also get international backing as well. Because when they see they fly, go, and they come, now because they recognize him as a statesman, isn't it?
Let me tell you something.
Please
Power
do.
Panam will touch on Nkrumah, yeah? I know say they're stupid, they're not that stupid. They will not touch an Nkrumah. Especially when you consider the level of corruption, whether they don't embark on within 3 years. They have no moral foundation for touching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't make now people away being disliked and Nkrumah because of corruption. They see young corruption as play cook to waiting out in the right now.
Yeah, the army expresses it. They will generally report here.
So which moral grounds then go get for Nkrumah? We self no go agree. Me self no go agree. Remember, I mean, for me now, I do get for them Nkrumah. Right now, these guys have no moral grounds to touch a finger of an Nkrumah. And secondly, if they touch an Nkrumah, it's going to be chaotic. That's not true about it. It's going to be chaotic.
Yeah, I'll move to something quickly, Jesmed. I've been promised you say 1 hour 30. We've gone over the 1 hour 30 minutes. You allow only for 17 more minutes. I promise you 17 more minutes, sir. Yes. The president in education policy, in flagship program, education, free education. I know say me you talk about this 2 years ago, but it must have been 2 years now, or at least over a year. and not something where be close to your heart, and you feel say you been get something for do with that, and you be understand that more, and be wish that you be part of the design. How far you think say it go? How much of it you think say it go? Is it going well? What are your thoughts, sir?
It's still not going well. There has been improvement. There is no question about it. It's still not going well. The kind of reform we education system need, then Gaia not get the political will for take on then reform then they're talking about throwing money at it. You see, one thing working stupid winners alone. Now this overconfidence or so much respect to they give to people there because they hold PhD.
Yeah.
Having academic accolade is one thing. Having the moral foundation of leadership is another. And most importantly, having the technical know-how of leadership is another. It not necessarily means say, because you're a scientist who are good at research, you go able to run an entire ministry. No. It not mean say because you're a medical doctor, you go able to run a medical institution or a hospital or a ministry. No. Now that's what man and pass with. Because then they narrow things then based on people and experience and expertise. Sierra Leone and Africa in general, as you get a so-called degree, so they say you are the solution to everything. And over the past decades, we don't see how series of PhD holders them, they don't fail the nation. Right now, we get somebody when a history teacher, when a history now a teacher, now they teach in America now. Because in a paupanista, it had one agency when about investment. What is about investment?
Okay.
History teacher.
Okay, Jesmed.
So in this case here, so with respect to the education aspect, there are certain fundamental guidelines in we maybe not write about, when I be speak about in the 2015, 2016, 2014 tandem, when I write an entire document on how to reform the entire education system. If this government will follow that one day, like the education system don't go far.
So like you say, the political will not there. So it's just manipulation and machination.
Political will and the know-how. I think the know-how too.
Yeah, Jesmed, the Lunge Bridge or the opening of Parliament, the president make one or two pronouncements there inside it. One of them will be the Lunge Bridge. Your thoughts, please.
That Lunge Bridge there, you know, now the price tag, there is absolute need for a bridge. We country that now been not overdue for over 30 years ago. We don't get that kind of bridge there. But the price tag we then do to we then attach to them, it's not realistic. You understand?
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic. It also speaks to the corruption where they happen within this government. You understand? Because everybody, people and they now, each person now they try for pushing your own agenda for let the government approve certain things where themselves go able for making a little and nothing. Me can tell you say at least $300 to $500 million they can tap that budget today. With the private coffers.
Yeah.
And then guy wearing the thief, not to them picking thief. They're not and mind though, not like me and you sometimes $1 million, $2 million down.
Oh, the free God little bits.
Yes, so the free God little bits. They are ready for thief back. But then forget say Sheka Stephen thief past them. But today, Sheka Stephen not get nothing for show off. All that thief with. It look like I say God. He's not really ready for giving good leader aid. But it's a bit disgraced the one the way they take over leadership. The old generation, they are lucky. Maka, historically, all the one the way the name don't shine 50 years ago, 40 years ago. The generation, all are lucky today. Check them. Name any one panel, I go tell you, say, Not in order the end generation they now. So
Okay, Jesmed.
Going from that.
Jesmed, I have to ask this question. Dr. Kande Kole Yunkela, politically, is he a spent force?
I don't want to answer that question.
Okay, I respect that. Let me move on towards the closing. So earlier on in this conversation, where we talk about the economic trends and etc., you went on to the issue of inflation and you tried for explain to Fambulem waiting because the inflation government said and not reduce the inflation but to a single digit. The effects they were supposed to forget and the fundamentals them, and you explain something as holding the local currency for creates that narrative, which in the end are supposed to produce a negative. Two questions quickly on that. When you say hold, is it at the time when there was a scarcity of money at the central bank? Was that during that period or not quite recently?
Yeah, no, that period they were in a hot the loans. Yes.
Okay, so that was it.
So that process is still they continue.
So when the bank governor come for tell Fambul and say, well, we run out of money and give you all the reasons, and these were all lies until we say money they can, which was strange and beyond the world. So this is what they did.
There was hoarding of the loans, yes.
Okay. Again, it seems like you run a economy on propaganda, and economies are not run on propaganda. It's almost like a science.
Exactly. It's almost like a science. I like that.
Yes, sir. You need to understand that. Break down for me quickly, if you will. Inflation. Waiting to cause inflation. I know to some people it sounds, elementary, but to others, and when I say break them down, for let me understand, not only waiting at inflation and waiting the cause them, but waiting it affect in terms of the wider society. And therefore, if they say then reduce them to a single digit or reduce them anyway, let's just talk about reduction, what impact is it supposed to have?
Now, inflation, now when the general prices of goods and services, they increase by a certain percentage every year. Now, waiting the cost that one day, now usually when the amount of money within in circulation is so high that it not equal to the amount of goods and services within they produce. You understand?
Mm.
So for putting in a simple layman way, let's assume say Antifa 2, where they bring Gary from Bo, you don't bring 1,000 bags of Gary. You don't put in price down at 300,000 leons. You get 1,000 people and we able to afford in 1,000 bags. You not get no reason for increase the price. Because if you increase the price, the 1,000 people, and number we go able to afford the Gary, the number will go down because now 900 people will be able to afford it. Now you get 500 bags, 5 bags and go left, or 100 bags and go left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in price go stable 300,000. If you reduce the price, now you go lost because people in the way will afford it for 300,000. So the price go there at that stable day. But if Maminya will bring 1,000 and 1,000 bags of Gary, they get 2,000 people and all my one can buy the Gary. In the rush, this person say they put us 300,000 leons per bag. Then 5 people in the fetch. Maminya goes, hey, what's happening? Now increase about 350,000 leons. Then some man drop off, some man come back. You understand? Eh? So as long as Mami Fatu were able for increasing price of the Gary and people and still able for buy them, the price of the Gary will continue to go up. Now, one way of way inflation they go. The second way inflation they go, then call them cost push. When the cost of production, like when they lift that fuel subsidy, the price where Maminya they pay now from Bo or Kenima for bringing Gary Camp Freetown, it don't triple, it don't quadruple. So that Gary way they sell 200,000 leons per bag yesterday, you get for now increase in price to 250,000 leons per bag. So that's not increase the price of the Gary. Now, in we own situation as Salone, because we over dependent on imported goods and services, most of the goods they will sell na treats, not in the way, then they import into Salone. So if the price of dollar now 500 leons, 5,000 leons to $1, then that man they don't importing goods them, you don't get in $100,000. You want to go import more, you go buy the dollar, then say the price of dollar don't go 10,000 leons per dollar. That man go say, hey, that goods were bring yesterday where they sell 50,000 leons per item. I'm not going to sell them 50,000 leons per item anymore. I go for increase them to 100,000 leons. So which means the more the price of dollar they go up, the more the price of goods and services what they bring come into the country, they go up. That's not another cause of inflation. You understand? Now, in that particular aspect, when a part of the cost push inflation, where they relate to the cost of production and cost of importation of goods and services, if the central bank get enough dollar for give, so that means if you control the inflation rate, or if you control the exchange rate, you're able to control the exchange rate, then you're able to control that aspect of cost push inflation. You understand? Now, how you control the inflation rate, or say the dollar exchange rate? Now, when you get enough reserve, so that down the way they can import, then they're able to get all the dollar what they need from the central bank. They don't need for go buy in the black market. Now, when they get for go buy in the black market, then the demand for dollar increase, the demand for the leons drop, then the exchange rates will shoot up. Then they go get a direct effect on the cost of goods and services where they affect in our country. The question is how you go solve that.
Okay. And the bottom line, the reason why Fambul and beyond why I asked this question and the board around broke and down again is he arrived at Usaimi taught me there because I myself was confused. Because in the end, we learn about how inflation can affect goods and services where we people and they consume. And the idea that there's a reduction of inflation and it's not trickling down for reduce the level of goods and the prices of goods and services. In other words, for erase or how I go call them, for reduce the level of cost of living, then one has to understand, well, waiting at this reduction now, or maybe we'll get for wait and be patient a little bit more. Jesmed, I mean, this is not the end of the program, but here is the thing. The president speaks a lot about human index and promoting human index. So we know say when they get graduates there, we know they get job, for example. When you see professional graduates them, I mean, of course, all graduates become professionals, but lawyers, accountants, get for go, because the bottom line is about living. It's about life itself. So you get for find something for do. So somebody graduate from law school or civil engineer, they end up driving keke and Okada. Contextually, Jesmed, how does this impact we country? Is it negative or positive?
Negative.
What sector is being...
Tell me one pin where lawyer they produce. Tell me one pin where journalists they produce. We get so many lawyers and then there are two for penny in the country.
Okay, Jesmed. A good way make we laugh, you know, here towards the end of the program.
Any country where the universities are so lawyer and journalists and nobody in the produce and social workers, this and that. Now make plenty of my way, see don't open NGO. You go say, hey, me an ambassador of this NGO that one day. Because there is nothing to do.
Okay. And another thing again, you know, in
So
terms of this,
that speaks to the need for the kind of reform that we've been talking about earlier in the education sector.
yeah, exactly. You know, that I go back to this because this is kind of quite important, because you want to put out the figure out there that many people have been educated, many schools have been open, but waiting at the end goal, waiting at the end process, because these people are supposed to be filtering into the various disciplines and help the infrastructure of the country for grow and make the country better. But it doesn't exist. It's like a house built on sand. This is what it looks like, and it looks like a dangerous trend. Quick one, Jesmed, you know, because sometimes the government is our government, and then we look at things them as to why there are some other economic difficulties in the country. For example, labor-intensive area, they're like the mining area, then they all are kind of dilapidated, or the government shoots itself now in foot, revoking license or licenses and suspending license and depriving a lot of people from making their daily bread, and equally so paying tax.
Yeah, give me a minute to speak to that mining side. The one side the web one touch on who not.
Yeah, please do.
You see, this idea where each government come, you want for reform or change or revoke or kind of rewrite the mining laws or mining agreement, is centered around not the interest of Saloon, but the interest of the very politicians that will do that. Because in each mining agreement within the set, the beneficiaries are always within individuals, are for individuals within the powers of government. So when government change, the next government where they come, they don't want 10 individuals and they continue for benefit from them deal then they. So then they pretend like a sinner for the interest of the country in the do. Then they go back and negate on anything and do. Now that make the mining company and get mine for go challenge them a court, because the mining company they know say now corruption, both from the outgoing government to the current going government. It's all about corruption, not the interest of the country. It's all about forcing the mining company to say, you know what, that deal we make, when they go to what thing I call this guy? We been in London mining. We get
John Bono Sise.
But we been go to John Bono Sise, or any deal we been on they make. We been go to that guy we been get AYV.
Yeah,
Fadika. You understand? Eh? That one can now forbid the one them for benefit from that.
Yeah.
So
you break that chain. Now they come to them.
Yes. But what in them power then do, they not go like our APC go, Silo will make deal.
Yeah.
Then first come first, you know, say then get babati. Then throw the muscle and force for shake up the mining company, like saying this and I'm gonna court. And the mining company,
yeah, chief minister.
That's what I tell you about. Who don't want to corrupt like that? We're not gonna court back. Then gonna court, they don't go lost. Then go lost now the country and don't lost issue. Almost
Absolutely.
$1 million.
And this is significant, Jesmed, because
almost $1 million
two great Western powers
them
in countries like America and the United Kingdom have got interest in that contract there. And this brings me to ask you about the international dimension, not only within that contract, but the entire country, I mean the government. How do they stand with the international community?
Now, well, with IMF and World Bank, they stand good. And the reason why they stand good, because they play to the books of to the dictates of the World Bank and IMF. They always want, you know, World Bank is controlled by the US. Let nobody fool you. Now then start on the IMF, the three branches of government, they actually able to operate independently, change the entire structure of government itself. Inside 5 years, that's enough for me. But I go change that one there and set them up and left politician give politics give the politician them. So when they can now, it go difficult for them corrupt, it go difficult for them bully judges, it go difficult for them bully House of Parliament, and then can stop them. So let's think about the country interest first and forget about parties and politics.
Okay, Jesmed.
Okay, Fambulem, this effectively, when we come to the end of tonight's repeated broadcast, very, very interesting, and I thank you all for tuning in. But don't be selfish. Please share this broadcast to others. Again, like I say, very interesting, important, and informative broadcast with Jesmed Foday Mami-Suma. This again was done about a year ago, a little over a year ago, but a year on, it's like the man being got a crystal ball. It's like a prophecy come true. And these are the kind of things that we do on the Then and Now TNN Media Empire. Once again, thank you so much to all for listening and watching from near and afar. Until we next program again, thank you so much for joining us. And may I say a very goodbye to every one of you for watching, and have a good evening, a good night, or good morning, wherever you may be. Thank you.